Right, hello everyone, and welcome to GRSFT, where today we are here in France, and this is the 8th round of the season, currently. So yeah, I'll try to sound a bit more enthusiastic, shall I? But yeah, okay. Let me get some stuff up and have a look at what I can talk about while we wait for the qualifying session to get underway. So, taking a look at the standings then, I'll just have to, you can visualise it in your head, I need to probably add a little thing to the stream so you can sort of see that. But cool, currently leads away, Pavlovic, oh my god, I've just pronounced that so amazingly. With 139 points with a 54 gap to David, who isn't racing the next few rounds. So the closest contender is Joanda in the Alpine with 65 points, so a 74 point gap. Colour's just been very consistent this season, and no one has really been able to compete, to be fair, so that's sort of one thing to note. Let's get some details on then. Don't need tyres since it's a dry session. And it will be Edwin. Okay. The volume and everything should be good. Just let me know if I need to change anything. Well, I don't think I should. And I'll get the stream chat open if it wants to load. I've got no internet? No, I do have internet. Okay. Hello, everyone. How can they see the chat? Hello, Apo and Roger Well. So, here we are then. 18-minute qualifying session. And should be fairly interesting. Paul Adler has now joined the session. So that's 17. And then I believe we're waiting on more as well during mid-quali. I'm not too informed. I haven't really had time to look through the chats fully. But Edwin will be the first to start a lap unless someone is flying past him here, which Apo is currently just staying behind. He's not very clued up on the old accelerate and brake strategy to warm the tyres, it seems, as I have received a message. Is there a potential issue? I'm unsure. Right. Okay, so I'll jump on board with someone further back. I just had to check something. That would be. No, we'll go on board with Lapage. Let's go. I'm board with a Mercedes driver, currently P6, I want to say, in the standings with 40 odd points. And here we go then into turns 1 and 2. Bit awkward these are. It's easy to lose the rear or have a bit of a twitch, but Adam gets it very nicely. As into turn, whatever that is, probably 3, then 4. And now through 5 to finish off the first sector. There could be a slight little kink on the straight, that might count, so I might be slightly off. Anyways, onto the DRS straight, and heading now down to Bahamas. I think it's called that. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what the chicane's called. But again, very nice through there, and they're heading not to the flat right-hander. Easy to just call it that rather than trying to remember coordinates. or whatever. And then into a corner which David on commentary for, I believe, season 3 called it croissant. Not this one, but the corner beforehand. So that one's sort of stuck as it's an Alpine 1-2 at the moment with Gironda and Antoine. Both into the 29s. Can Lapage match them is the question. The lap overall looks decent. And yes, he can. Okay, that was a bit delayed by 29.4, very fast from the Mercedes driver there, as Paul Matler has disconnected. Let me get on that. I can solve those problems. That's something I can do. There it is. As you can see, I'm really good at locating people on a friends list. Not. Ennis appears to have backed off, so we have Harry here at the final corner actually. Coming up to the line there, looks like a 29. No, the time jumped a lot there. So that's one thing I need to watch out for. The timing seems to be a bit glitchy. And I'll keep a mental note of that. I'm not sure who's actually on the lap here. So this goes to the pit lane, so not on the lap as Cav 18 now. Jonas, there we go. There we go. I believe that's everyone who's making it today. I would assume. As Rob has invalidated in the Haas, so he'll not be improving on his current, or improving or setting a lap at all. No, I said improving. Gonna mix up in my words today a bit. As 102 is invalidated, I think we saw that earlier. It's pretty much everyone's staying in the pit lane, so first run's complete, and Lapage leads the way with the two Alpines close behind, George Pine 4th as we see some drivers heading at the pit lane. I believe that will be Theo Smith, or is it Paul Nadler? That is Theo Smith. So here we go then. Actually, that might be Andra starting a lap in the Williams, so we'll go on board with him. Let's see what time the Williams driver can do. Looks very nice so far. And doesn't have the most battery. As the battery is appearingly very glitchy on the stream. I think I'm just having some form of connection issues with the lobby most likely. But yeah, that's a decent start to the lap. One sector left to go then, sector 3. The most technical sector on the track, I'd say. Yeah, nah. Sector 1 probably is. It's not really. There's nothing too technical about France, to be fair, so it's not really the right word to use, to be honest. One thing interesting that is interesting to point out is only 8 drivers have set a lap so far, so quite a lot of invalidations. People finding it easy to slip outside of the white lines here. Ideally want to be keeping themselves within those, as Andra goes to P4 29.7, just behind Twan. So a respectable time there from the Williams driver. Puts himself in a competitive position. As here we go then, Theo Smith out the final corner and ready to start his what I can only presume would probably be second flyer. I'd assume maybe the first one was invalid, but it could be the first. I'm not too sure, as it looked very nice. 3, 1 and 2 to start the lap, and overall looking good. Let's have a look at the first sector time is. I know an ideal one is a low 22, 22.1. That's solid for the first sector. I think on the final run people will be looking to push into the 21s in that first sector. As into Mahana's and using all of the track available. Quite easy to invalidate if you try to get a bit too greedy with the amount of track you use. However, Theo keeps it perfectly within the limits and he's on a very good run. You want to be careful there for certain, as and there's sort of a little point where the car doesn't. Like there's a dip in the track and the car will start sort of, it'll just cut the power out a bit. Like this is the worst technical speaking I've ever done. But it's a bump in the track, the car cuts out a bit and you lose loads of time, so you have to be careful and keep it more towards the middle of the straight. Theo Smith does go P2 with that lap, so very nice. Sam here 49.9 so far. That is very good. And well, he'll maybe head in to the line, and that's P4. So a very nice lap time. Jonas here 29.9. So everyone just trying to get into the 29s. I think it's a good starting point. Seems to be what is considered a competitive lap off the first two runs. As everything, can he improve on this run? 29.1, he absolutely smashes his previous time. It's a huge improvement there for the Alpine driver. George Park goes to the pit lane. Jonas already done his lap as Ennis. Say 30.8 in the Mercedes. Probably isn't that lower. However, Lapich has just started one. Did not look great in 1 and 2, I'll be honest. At all. However, that maybe a bit too much speed in, but yeah, no, way too much speed, unfortunately. But it was fast, just not really controlled. As let me check Discord so I remember people's names. As I've also got another couple messages on Discord. I believe this is Andreas Roman. Please be Andreas, otherwise I am absolutely terrible at remembering people's names. But yeah, it is Andreas Roman. Oh, that's correct. That's good to know. Anyways, is there anyone on a lap? I don't think there is. Ondra's on the 8 lap. Same with Apo. So those two currently out of sync a bit with the rest of the session. So we'll go with Ondra here in the Williams. Currently on a 29.7. However, even a tiny improvement will put him into the top 5. He's going to need to find a bit more, though, to get any higher than that. And I think that'll be quite interesting to see what sort of time he can find here. As okay. So, into turn 1 and 2, manages to carry a good amount of speed through there. Looks fairly comfortable. And now heading, flying over the curbs, and he managed to cut that really nicely. Opens up the next section and on the pillar early. It's a 10th improvement, 22.0 first sector. Runs a bit wide, however manages to keep the minimum speed high the whole time, just progressively applying the throttle through the corner, and now heads down towards the back chicane and braking just before the start of the curb there, and manages to cut a lot of it. That is going to gain him the most time possible out of there, and it's a 4/10 improvement nearly at the moment for the Williams driver, which is exceptionally good to start out here, as now just trying to open up the next section, keep the minimum speed high, make sure that you also keep the rear planted on exit. You don't want to get too aggressive on the throttle through any of these corners. Quite easy to lose the rear, especially if you're trying to be aggressive in lower gears on the throttle. It's just about managing it nicely. As out the final corner, looks like a good exit from the Williams driver, so this could be certainly up there with Edwin, and it is. It's a 0.1, and very nice from Andre there. As Apo is also 6 tenths up here in the Aston Martin. So this could also be quite a big improvement. And out the final corner. Looks decent. Up to the line. And it's a 29.6. Punks in P6. Not bad. Not bad at all. As I believe Twan is the furthest through the outlap. He's given himself just enough time to go for a lap and back off if needs be. Which is a smart decision. I tend to like to do that, to be fair, this game a lot more. I think it's a lot more forgiving to be able to do that on this game, in a way. That is not what you want to do, is you're going to light up the rears a bit there. He has got quite a few cars exiting the pit lane, so I'm hoping that we don't have a repeat of Kota when Apo got blocked by however many cars in a row. You know what? I'm just going to have faith in people not to pay attention. As 3 times 1 and 2 looks very nice there from Twan, attacking every part of the track. I think he's just going to go full send. He knows he's got the time to back off and go again if he's needed. As his first of Mercedes, I believe it's Lepage, in the way. As that's a 10th improvement, 22.0, just behind what Andre managed to do in the first sector, about 300ths off. And fortunately for Twan, the cars are moving out of the way on the back straight here, on the first part of it, as we head into the chicane, and gets too aggressive on the cut there. And that's unfortunate. He's going to need to back off and recharge, or is he... No, he's just going to finish the lap and see what he would have done invalidated, I guess. I'm not too sure. So, it'll be an Alfa Romeo next. It's not Caleb, it's actually Harry, who's absolutely flown over turn 1, and that's going to be the end of his qualifying session. So it'll be Edwin, a current pole sitter. Can he find even more time out of the lap? I don't think so when he's done that, but we'll see how much damage has been done in the first sector. But overall, 2 tenths. We'll jump aboard with Jonas instead, who is 2.5 tenths up actually in sector 1. So he's managed to find a good chunk of time there, which is a positive sign for the Red Bull driver, making his debut today. As now heading into the chicane, drops it to 4th. Didn't manage to cut as much of that as we've seen others do, but gets a decent exit nonetheless. Didn't cut too much, so if he did on his previous lap, which seems like he managed to just carry a good amount of minimum speed, got on the throttle early. He's up by close to 4 tenths, so he will probably be challenging the top 5 here. It's because a lot of the insight there, that's part of it where it can unsettle your car if you go too aggressive, and manages to sort of counteract that slide there as he heads now just round the final corners. Opens it up very nicely, and on the throttle, heading to the line. Where can Jonas place his Red Bull? The answer is P6, 29.6. So now we'll jump on board with Blake, who is a 10.5 down actually, and does not improve. So Blake, who is I believe P3 in the standings, has seemingly struggled here today, as we see Linus going to the line now in the Haas, P12 with a 30.0 there. As next will be Sam in the Ferrari, who's invalidated. So can Lapage do anything is the question. No, he's invalidated as well. And Ennis is also invalidated. Everyone invalidating this final run here. Theo Smith has not though. However, seems to have ran very wide in the final corner. It's just going to be Theo and Andreas now to the line. As Theo does not improve, Andreas is 7 seconds down. And will not improve Sir Edwin with a 29.1. Manages to take pole position here in France, just half the temp separating him and the Williams of Ondra. And full blue front row. And let's go through the qualifying order then. As obviously Edwin and Ondra on the front row, Andreas and Adam Lapage on the second row, Theo Smith and Jonas. I'm going to go for Tasty, will be my guess. I'll get that one corrected if it's wrong. But they're on the third row with Apo and Sam on the fourth, Twan and George on the fifth, Caleb and Lennis on the sixth, Blake and Aryan on the seventh, Harry and Ennis on the eighth row. And then starting at the back with no times between them is Quill and Paul, although Quill has done that with intention. Quill wanting to start from the back, so that's what's gone on there, Mitch. Since I've just seen you've asked that in the chat. So, 18 drivers on the grid here in France. We've had, I think, one safety car between the two tiers so far. I believe F4 had one late on, around lap 20, I want to say. And the clouds remain from qualifying. However, I would doubt that we're going to get any rain. We did see rain in F3 on Sunday, which spiced the race up a bit and did a whole different dynamic. Two sides of the race really there, and one thing to note is quite a few drivers underfueled and ran out of fuel in that race, so I think that's something the drivers will need to be wary of. They can't exactly just bank on safety cars, as the walls are quite far from the track. However, some still end up finding them. Not pointing fingers, as here we go. The 5 red lights are on now here for rain day in France. And the lights are out and away we go. And it's a great start there from Edwin. It's also a great start from Andreas in the Aston Martin behind. And Leifert just got an even better start there, as he's going to be also challenging Ondra. Andreas moves across him, and it's side by side there as Linus has rejoined the session. And not too much room for everyone. It's a Ferrari spinning out and a Red Bull gone flying there. That was on the exit of the corner. I think there was a bit of contact with a slide, which sort of propelled the Red Bull off into the distance. But it's a good start from our pole sitter of Edwin, as Ondra losing 2 places off the start from the front row. However, no damage to the car or anything like that, so nothing too much to be worried about. As looking at people's battery loads already, and that's an end plate missing on the McLaren of Theo Smith, who I would presume was the one who made contact with Jonas. As one thing to point out is Quill's already up to P11 in the Williams, as we see Ennis has got past Sam there for P12. Sam also with damage, as I believe George was the Ferrari who we saw speared off the track through turns 1 and 2, as Quill there makes a move now for P10 and has had a great start and pitting their way through cleverly. So they're putting pressure on Caleb, who seems to be struggling, so I assume there might be damage on the Alfa Romeo as well, and there is. A lot of drivers picking up very minor damage with very major consequences here, and that's one thing people need to think. In a race like this, where safety cars are not that common, to be honest, or they're not going to be that common, is it worth putting everything on the line on lap 1? No, it's not. And, well, the front 5 have kept out of the wall, and they're off into the distance. Both Aston Martin drivers here, and actually the front 6, sorry. Both Astons, both Alpines, and then a Mercedes and a Williams in there. Oh, that's Twan round. And I sort of cursed that. I noticed him last second, and sort of cursed him straight out of it as Quill has underfueled in the Williams. Just going to take a quick look through as we see an overtake actually. No, we don't, but it was an effort from Apo to get up into P4 there. And just thinking better of it as Paul Nadler has disconnected. I feel like I've invited him. I'm going to invite him again because I don't know if he disconnected mid-quali or what happened. Paul Nadler is just not online. I think his internet might have gone fully. That's a shame, unfortunately. But no one else has underfueled, so it will just be Quill suffering from the fuel deficit. I should actually have just looked at the values on the steering wheel, to be honest. There's plus 1.4 there for Andreas. Edvin, even with the telemetry, has only gone half a lap over, so I'm not quite sure fully on the fuel burning load here. But I believe it is more than half a lap across a race. I would say maybe about a lap. As Lapage has gone about a lap over, I'd assume, off the start. He's plus 0.94 now, so I'd say that's most likely 0.03 a lap. So actually, yeah, that'd be like 0.81 across a race that you would burn on the fuel, as front five all just sort of pretty content with their position at the moment, as Quill's going to go for the move on the inside on Blake. They've slid through the corner aggressively though, and that's going to allow Blake to retake the position, and that's also going to keep the drivers behind close as Paul Nadler's back. So his internet is reconnected, which is great to know, as we see Twan leaving space for that McLaren, since he's seen that Paul Nadler's just rejoined probably, and is just being cautious of when the McLaren's going to retake control of the car, which is a sensible thing to do, as Lapage seems to be struggling a little bit to stick with the front two. The front two seem to have very strong pace here, and Edvin has used 30% more battery than Andreas, as Andreas is going to go to the inside for turn one, and he's going to have that move completed well before. As let's take a look at the tyres people started on. So mostly mediums at the front, and then a mix of softs and hards further back, with Blake and Quill making the biggest impact so far on those on that particular compound. However, we haven't really done much to catch up to the medium runners at the front, as Lapage fighting for his life to stay in DRS here, it seems, but he's managing it, so I think he just needs to find his rhythm a bit more and get himself more comfortable into the races. Edvin wants that leap back, presumably wanting the fresh air, doesn't want to overheat the engine in a train or being behind other cars. However, I don't think he will particularly, being behind just the one car. It'll more affect the drivers further back here, as you may see them move out to one side on the straight now and then, just to try and get the airflow through the engine, cool the temperatures down, as there is a loss in power output for every degree above 130, I believe, as Andreas, with a big mistake in the Aston Martin there, has to go off the track, and that's going to cost him a bit of time, as Sam's picked up a penalty there, as we see Jonas now ahead of the Haas driver of Arjen Rav, and 5 drivers already into the pits this race, so they're going to be looking for a bit of a comeback drive. As Quill is now the lead runner on softs, and he's closed down 3/10 on that gap, and is trying to pull away from Blake, as Linus is putting the pressure on Blake. Certainly a chance for some action here. Blake, I think, is going to lose the DRS, and Linus just trying to set up the corners as best as possible. And using all the track available, gets a good enough exit, and I think this is going to be a comfortable overtake for the Haas driver, as we see Apo down the inside, and Linus has also flown past Blake as there's yellow flags for Sam in sector 1, and also for a McLaren, I believe that's Paul Nadler. So a few drivers getting caught out, presumably by some rear slides, as Apo has lost DRS and has also lagged across the track there, so let's hope that's not going to be... Oh, Apo has lagged out of the session actually completely, so I will re-invite Apo. Who is there? Okay. So front three on the way now in this race. Andra is now also going to get a chance to just get back past Apo and build up a bit of a gap once again, and I'll wait for a ping or a message from Apo just to make sure in case he needs another invite. So I'll keep a lookout for that. I know Apo tends to listen along, to be fair, with the stream. As Linus comfortably past Blake now. And Ennis is now on the charge as Apo's straight back in the session. That's what you like to see. And isn't going to lose too much time in the end. As Ennis out of battery as Sam has gone to the pit lane and retired the car. So an early end of the day for the Ferrari driver as Caleb picks up a 3-second time penalty. The drivers further back have picked up a few penalties so far as I'll be looking obviously not to gain too many of those, as it wouldn't be ideal if a safety car came out, brings them back in the race, but then the penalties prevent them from making maybe the progress they would like. Because I've just seen Apo lag on the map, so that can only probably be him really taking control of the car and the game being, you know, doing what it does best and just being a bit twitchy in cross-play lobbies. As Sam has left us after a short endeavour here in France, and Linus close to the back of Quill. I think the tides could certainly be turning soon as that alright, both cars were lagging, so that's probably my connection to the lobby. Yes, that's definitely both cars. Okay, so I just need to, if you see any lag, it's most likely from my end, unless it's persistent. My connection when commentating isn't always the best, for some reason. In a normal lobby, it doesn't tend to be too bad, as Jonas has sped into the pit lane and retired the car. So that brings an end to the day for the Red Bull driver, as Andreas in the slipstream of Edvin here, as Harry has got a penalty for multiple track limit warnings. So that is now both Alfa Romeos who have accumulated enough warnings for a penalty, as we see Ennis standing inside of Blake there. That is P8 for now on hard tyres, so Ennis looking good on the race pace. Blake trying to put pressure on in the gap there, as Harry also keeping nicely on the back of the train. One's also making more progress, catching back up after the earlier spin. There's yellow flags. I think that was George Parr, who seems to just be struggling a lot in this race. There's some very distinct groups in this race so far. The gaps are sort of starting to level themselves out, as I think we're only a couple laps out from the pit face now. I think we'll be looking at around lap 12 or 13. We'll see people definitely look to come into the pits, as Linus is very off track and rejoins down in 9th after that mistake. Not too sure what happened to the driver in the Haas. But yeah, As Lepage just dropping shy of DRS again at the moment. As Andreas is putting a lot of pressure on Edwin, to be fair, and has been very conservative with the battery. So the race pace in that Aston Martin in this race so far has been very, very strong, and could even look for me for the lead here. Maybe he feels he's got the pace to try and make a bit of a charge at the front. But I guess we'll find out. As maybe she's going to have to spend a bit if he wants to gain this back, but he does only have 30%. And the gap currently 1.1, so if he has a good few corners, there is a chance. However, he's going to have to at least match Andreas, who does have a slight bit of understeer. However, oh, there's a slight there from the Aston actually, and that's going to bring him straight back in. And actually, oh no, he hasn't missed it. It's just a visual glitch. I was confused then. But that's going to help Lepage out massively with managing to stay within the DRS straight. As that is what he'll be looking to do there. As Ennis still not found a way past Quill, although I'm sure he's not all too bothered being on the hard tyres. The crossover between softs and hards specifically probably has happened, I would guess, by this point. The softs are probably feeling it quite a bit. At around 50 odd %, but it is Quill, so it's probably on the mid to low 40s, as they are usually very conservative with the tyres and don't have many slides. Don't have moments that are going to put a lot of wear on the tyre, and just keep it nice and under control. That's one thing that benefits them a lot during these races, as Lepage once again not quite managing to keep in the DRS. The front two really hammering the pace down, and maybe Lepage struggling with a bit more aggressive wear on the tyres than these two. Could certainly be the case, as got a motorbike or something. Don't know if you could hear that, but yeah, it's quite loud. As still no real moves being made here. Everyone holding stations for now. I think they're all just thinking about the long run in this race. I don't want to throw everything away on a lap turn. As Apo has managed to claw back up to Andre in the Williams, so could be certainly some action there in the coming laps. As once again, I think we'll see maybe the soft runners pitting around now. Blake and Blake fancy staying out. They might be going medium soft, to be honest. It's certainly a possibility that they do just go for that on the tyre strategy. However, I am unsure, as Appa's very close to Andre here actually. So has certainly made a lot of progress in the Aston. And is all over the back of that Williams. So some very strong pace being laid down by Appo here. Here, I believe, is now just going to make his way past. And just try head off into the distance. Appo seems to have a bit more life in his tyres at the moment, and has some good pace. As George Parr has spun again in the Ferrari, and a bit of a dismal day for him, in all honesty. As some action going on back here Ennis has made his way past Quill. I did not actually see that, as further behind, Blake also sweeps past there, however, a bit unsettled as we got some pit stops at the front. Lapage and Edvin are in. So going for an early undercut here. Ondra also goes in for the undercut. And they think the tyres have had enough already. So they're going to bolt on a nice fresh set. And we'll see. We'll see what they can do now, as Twan is finally caught up, actually, to Blake and Harry, who have strayed a bit away from the cars in front, as both Edvin and Lapage are going to be catching up to this soon. A little tap there from Twan. No harm caused, so just a minor misjudgment from the Alpine. No real harm caused, as Quill dives in front of Ennis there. And now up into the podium places for now, however. Obviously they haven't been to the pits yet, so that is only temporary, as George Parr once again just really struggling. As I think we're going to see a bit of a fight unfold here. Blake looking to the inside. Twan's going to try and hold it around the outside of the AlphaTauri. However, decides to go for a bit of a switch back there. And manages to cut it nicely under. Can't find a way past on Harry though, as George Parr gets a 10-second penalty for corner cutting. I don't know how he's managed that. He's also spun again. So, not sure what he's doing, to be honest. As Ennis past Linus and Twan around the outside on Harry. Very nice move there. And, well, Harry's going to try fight it back, actually. Managed to get a good exit. And has cut the corner there to stay ahead. But does pick up a penalty for his troubles, so... yeah. Not ideal for him. Not ideal at all. As onto the back straight once again. Twan is free. Blake tries to make it free. Can't quite manage that. And runs himself out of road a bit as Edvin. Wait, I don't know where that Alpine's just appeared from, but he's just swooped through without me even noticing. Fair enough. Fair enough indeed. As Andreas is into the pit lane. And he's going to benefit from fresher tyres as Twan moves out the way for his teammate. As Lapage will be hoping the cars in front are going to go into the pit lane, which one does, Blake specifically. However, others are staying out. Andreas, where will he rejoin is the question. He's going to be, I think, behind Lapage here. No, they're going to be side by side. No, not quite. He is just behind, and provisionally no P3 in this race, as they've got a very strong gap behind to Ondra. As Nenesev runs wide off the track, and Ennis does go ahead. Linus all over the place and out of shape there, and Edvin's just going to fly past. He's probably a bit confused about what's happened there, as Lapage now looking for a move on Harry, and that move is done and dusted out the way well before the end of the straight. And Lapage on the fresh tyres is just going to, let's just say, leave. As Andreas now is going to dip into the Thunder battery that he saved up and try and make some progress. And he's going to have to start that with Harry. However, not really any space to make a move. He's going to slip it to the inside. And now he's going to have the outside for the next corner. Opening a wide lineup as Harry sliding at the apex there. And oh, Linus has bent it straight into the wall with the rear. And is waiting very considerately for other cars. I'm not sure what's happened. Okay, no, he's okay. I thought he got stuck there as Edvin off into the lead. Ahead of Ennis, who is probably going to be in this or next lap, I'd assume, off of those tyres. As Andreas on the fresher hards by 2 laps is on the chase after Lapage, and then it's all about can he catch Edvin at the front as Ondra picks up a 3-second time penalty. Did manage to undercut back ahead of Apo, and Apo sort of has his chances ruined by some screen freezes there, so that's unfortunate for him. As Linus has left the session. I think that might be a disconnect, so I will re-invite. As his AI has drifted. Okay. Very strange. To be honest. And that is Ennis heading off into the pit lane. Gives Adam DRS, so he's going to be able to not let Andreas get too close at the moment. As the gap at the front is about 3.5 seconds up to Edvin at the front. As Harry's still out there on those mediums. They are 15 laps old and he's all over the place on them. So I feel like he should be heading to the pit lane sometime soon. As otherwise, it's not going to be too ideal for him, to be honest, as Linus is back in the session. And Ennis has picked up a 3-second penalty after exiting the pit lane. Might have slid off track on cold tyres. As Apo looking for a move on Harry. And Ondra not close enough yet, but I think, to be honest, he might just get him on traction on the exit of the chicane, to be honest. The amount of grip in those, got stuck on my words again. The amount of grip that the Williams will have will be far superior to the Alfa Romeo at this point. So, not too difficult of a move for him, as Andreas all over the back of Adam, and Adam runs deep. Andreas is going to take the opportunity and go side by side here. And they're going to be side by side straight into the final corners here. Adam backs out and picks up the DRS. Which I think he'll just try and use to stay with Andreas, to be honest. I would. As he's on the fresher tyres and he has a lot of pace right now. And it could just be smart to use the power there as Twan. Once again, a bit of a misjudgment, pushing the McLaren of Theo Smith. And one may go to the outside. And is ahead well before the corner as Linus has picked up a 10-second time penalty for on a straight. I'm not so sure about that one from the game, to be honest. As Linus is also off the escape road. Might have damage. But keeping well out of the way of anyone who may be approaching, which is good to see. Further back, we have Caleb defending from Paul Nadler. Oh, that's a very late move from Caleb. That's a bit questionable, and trying to force himself into space that isn't there, to be honest, as well. So, not sure about that from Caleb. Not sure at all. Seem fairly unnecessary. As Andra and Apo still together on track. Lennis retires from the session. As Iron close to Paul Nadler, however, he's sort of in the same boat as Caleb here, and they both on very old tyres that they boxed for at the end of lap 1. So I don't think we're going to see too much from them in this race. They sort of need a safety car for any hopes of anything, for a hope of anything in this race, to be honest. As so apparently Caleb's testing out the Nokia 3310 front wing that the Alfa Romeo team have been developing. The more you know. The more you know indeed, as let me put my light on, as Ennis looks to make this move on Theo Smith. Has a massive tyre advantage. And also have some advantage with the DRS, goes a bit deep into the corner, which might allow Theo Smith a look back, but I don't think Theo Smith's too interested. Also, Theo has the fuel light on. Let's have a look at everyone else's fuel. Edvin is 0.15 over. So we might have to see a slight bit of fuel conservation from the Alpine driver. Andreas perfectly in the green. Lepage probably got about enough as you need to finish the race now. Apo might also be struggling with fuel. Ondra is well over. Quill is about even, and they did start about even, so they've done well at managing. So it is possible to manage. Twan's got plenty, and I think most other people probably will have. Theo Smith, who is getting sort of into a desperate situation. Harry also, especially considering he's going to be pushing in clean air on those stops, is going to have to be a bit conservative. Probably why you stayed out longer on the mediums, hoping for a safety car. It would have fixed the fuel problem. And also, probably made just a generally good place on the track. Let's have a look at time penalties then. 8 seconds for Ondra, 5 in the pit lane. Twan got... did he get a 5-second? No, he got it from the pit lane. And then track limit penalties elsewhere. Let's look at the position changes. Quill up 11. Apo's had a good start from 7th on the grid and managed to get to 4th in this race. Ennis from 16th up to 8th as well. So, good progress from many of the drivers in this race, to be fair. As Andreas is getting certainly close to Edvin now. And is going to be piling the pressure on for the race win. And he's looked very much in control and commanding in that Aston Martin today. And he's certainly going to have the edge on both the tyres. Not so much the battery. But he's going to be able to sit there and regen for a few laps and pick the time when it's right. However, with a mistake like that, he's actually costed himself. Oh no, he hasn't. I thought he would have, but just snuck in by the detection point. So, good job from him there, as Lepage looked in no man's land for P3 at the moment. Good result overall from Aston Martin and Williams in this race. And big points for both teams. The top 8 actually is only 4 teams, I've just realised, currently. And to be honest, unless a major mistake comes from one of them, it'll probably end that way. As Andreas now pretty much just waiting for a time to strike. I don't know if he's going to try and get it done out the way or not. As I'm getting attacked by a moth, so that's always fun while I'm trying to do my commentary. But anyways, we see Ondra making a move on Apo, and Laper just picked up a 3-second time penalty. But in all honesty, at the moment, it doesn't really matter. But a safety car could actually make it matter quite a bit, so I'll just be hoping for the last 6 laps to be quite quiet as Ondra picks up another 3-second penalty, bringing his total to 11 seconds. Which is not ideal. As Andreas not choosing to make that move yet. Just being patient really, and that's I think the best thing for him to do at the moment. There will need to be some form of urgency later on, but at the moment he's okay to sit here and play it patient, pick the right time, pick the right move, and try and give Edvin as little chance to fight back as possible. And in this final sector, the difference between the two drivers is, well, let's just say very clear to see. And, well, one thing I have noticed is Quill is making a charge for 4th place in this race, as there goes Andreas for P1. He's finally decided the time is right and takes the lead from Edvin. As Edvin, all out of shape there, but keeps it pointing in the right direction just about. As that's going to give Andreas the gap he wanted. And, well, there you go. Because the Aston doesn't really make any mistakes now, he can sort of just try and bring this one home in one piece. As Ennis has picked up another 3-second penalty, but at the moment that doesn't really matter. And he's also got a fairly sizable gap to Blake, about 8 tenths on top of the penalty set. So, without any mistakes, he should be alright, as Quill's coming to aid in the battle against Apo. As they have a good amount of battery. Over there, I'll probably have to use a little bit just to close in to the DRS, which they have done, down to about 50 now. And they might have a chance of getting into the DRS on the medium tyres. They're going to have a bit of an advantage still at the moment, I would assume. And certainly the signs are pointing towards that. And at the final corner, I'm going to be well within DRS. Is Harry on the softs. He's looking to pick his way past Theo Smith. However, for Harry, the fuel is now a major concern. He's minus 2.4, so he's going to have to be worrying about that quite a bit. Edvin has sort of stayed pretty stable on his fuel at this point. Lepage has used about half of what he had in about half the time. Apo could be in a spot of bother, which will certainly lead in Ondra's favour. As Quill is now going to get past their teammate after a mistake, and is now off on the charge after Apo. Didn't really check Twan's fuel. Twan's got enough for the rest of the race, same with Ennis, so not going to be many changes in the top 8 without any major mistakes or a safety car, which can only come out on this next lap, as we are about to enter 24, so that's the last chance for a safety car, and most likely will be the first race without one this season, I believe. Although we have been at a lot of tracks where the walls are very close, such as Imola, not Jeddah yet, we've still got Jeddah to come, that's going to be some safety cars probably. But yeah, Imola, Baku, Vegas, raced quite a few where the walls are quite close to the track, as they've exchanged his choice on Edvin winning this one. Yeah, I don't think it's too likely, in all honesty, David, as Theo Smith is also no fuel saving, and also going for the move of doing 26 laps on hards, which fair enough, to be honest, as Paul Matler's swooping in late on here, and probably looking to pick up some points, as Quill has made their way past Apo on the exit of the chicane, actually. Quite interestingly, as and, well, the gap at the front is only increasing, and well, it has only been increasing for most of this race, to be honest. After Andreas managed to get past Edvin, as Apo following closely to Quill. Also being behind the Williams allows Apo to save a bit of fuel. However, Apo says, forget that, don't need to save fuel, I'm going to go down the inside, and now you're going to have to watch me be in front again. As the McLarens have swapped, and Theo Smith has gone to the pit lane. I reckon that'll probably be a fastest lap attempt from the McLaren. Is Quill all that bothered about Apo being back past? Probably not. They have the upper hand certainly in this, and there they go. Back past, and back ahead, and a bit of a wobble on exit, but we know Quill's straight line speed is a lot higher than others. As we've seen, about 308, a couple of kilometres up on Apo. As the gap at the front's come down a bit, but that could just be a bit of race management from Andreas. Doesn't want to push too much and throw the position on track away. Same for pretty much everyone here now. As will Apo try to push back past the Williams? The answer is certainly yes. However, Apo is running a bit dry on the battery, and Quill is just not interested into turn 1, to be honest. They are completely content to just sit there. As Apo doing a bit of lift and coast, and he's managing his fuel well, keeping it on even. So that's a positive sign for Apo. And Quill's going to get another run here. And another attempt to get past the Aston, but I don't think it's going to be on this straight. Apo goes defensive. Quill backs off nice and early before the corner, and just isn't interested. Doesn't need to go for anything unnecessary. It's not the end of it all yet. And they have 70% battery compared to Apo's 17. As they look to the inside, Apo runs wide. They sort of pressure Apo into going wide, as Twan has arrived. And Twan will be looking to pick up some scraps out of this, I'm sure. As Paul Matler, is he going to try sit one on the outside? No, he's going to try switch it to the inside, but Blake just has that inside line held and covered. So no way past. Is Quill 80% battery coming onto the final lap, and Apo is lifting and coasting. So very different situations for the two drivers. As Twan also right on the edge of the usage on fuel. Edvin has a bit more to play with. And Lapage also has a bit more to play with. So there's one move for Twan. Past the Williams of Ondra. And this is where Quill dumps all of the battery. And Apo, yeah, you can't do anything, to be honest, Apo. And even if Apo gets a great exit, which to be fair, it is a very nice exit, Quill is just going to absolutely fly away and use all, well, 60-ish% of the battery that was still remaining. There's quite a lot, as Twan once again past Ondra. And, well, that is a move for P6. Don't think Twan needed to make the move. But you know, it's nice to have it done on track in case some Halo 3 penalty can be removed in a very unlikely scenario, as Andreas does win the race ahead of Edvin, with Lapage coming across the line in 3rd place. Quill will finish 4th, ahead of Apo in 5th, so well, the top 8 is going to remain the same way, I believe, with all the same teams being inside the top 10. Oh no, top 8. We'll be going Aston, Alpine, Merc, Williams, Aston, Alpine, Williams, Merc. Swap Ennis and Andre Rain, you got the same pattern, but yeah. Some good action in the race. Quite a longer one. Not a long one, short one. With the lack of safety cars, as Theo Smith grabs that fastest lap and will be walking away with it. Driver of the day does go to Quill for starting from 17th, I want to say. I think they started ahead of Paul Madlet. Yep. And managing to get all the way up into 4th place. With the gap ending up being 16.1 to the front. Anyways, that is going to conclude this round. Oh, no it's not. Race director. There it is. Now we're going to conclude this round. So, thank you all for watching. Make sure to tune into F1 tomorrow, and next week we will be heading to Spain for F2 at the same time next week, with F4 and F3 just before on Monday and Sunday. So, thank you all.